Digital audio workstations offer a number of different ways you can add effects or plugins into your music production, and in this video we're going to take a look at a couple of different methods. The first is to add an effect directly over the top of an individual track. So for example, I've got this lead vocal right here, and I'm going to add a reverb over the top of the individual track. Straight away, that's really altered the sound, and it's quite full on because a reverb is adding ambience to the track. So by adding a reverb or ambience over the top of this vocal track, I need to go and open the plugin up and start editing the effect itself for the reverb to sound effective. Before, it was swimming in reverb. So what I'm doing is I'm lowering the mix and I'm changing some of these basic parameters to make sure that the reverb isn't overpowering the actual lead vocal itself. So a lead vocal may not be the best type of track to add a reverb directly over the top of. So there's some effects that basically are more inclined or lean themselves more towards being applied directly over the top of an individual track. I've got a lot of lead vocal tracks here, and these are all just different edits on different tracks, and they all need to sound the same. So in order to add a reverb to one track and have everything else sound the same, I would need to copy and paste or add that reverb to all of my tracks and then open up each individual plugin and make exactly the same edits for all of them to sound uniformed. And that's not great workflow. Also, reverbs are fairly processor hungry, so it's really not that great in terms of preserving your computer's processing power and your RAM. One plugin which might be more typical to see over individual channels and say lead vocals would be something like a compressor, which is a dynamic plugin. So basically, this is controlling the levels inside our track. So there might be one area in a lead vocal which is a bit louder, so we might have a different compressor setting for that individual track or I guess component or section of the song. So it could be a verse or a chorus, or we might even just apply a different compression setting to an ooh or an ah or a vocal hook, but they can still all be routed through an individual group channel so that they still have the same ambience like reverb or delays. So I guess the point here is, if we want an individual effect just to impact this one particular track, and if it's something like an EQ or a dynamic plugin, then by all means add it to that individual track itself so that the actual plugin settings remain unique to that individual track. However, if we're working with multiple tracks which require the same effect and the same effect settings, then it makes more sense to set up a bus or set up some sort of pathway so that we can add only one instance of the effect over the top of all of these channels. So I've got all of these different lead vocal channels, and I want them all to have the same effect applied over the top. To select multiple channels, I held down Shift on my computer keypad and I just selected the channels in the mix console. Now I can right mouse click and I can go down and select Add Group Channel to Selected Channel. And this is going to give me a group channel. I just need to make sure it's a stereo bus and I need to name it. And once I've named it and select Add Track, I've got a new fader down there in my mix console, and now I can control the overall volume of all of those vocal tracks which are now routed through this group track. There are plenty of videos on the Cubase YouTube channel which show you how to use the Cubase channel strip. If you want, you can go into the mix console and you can click on an individual channel and you can use the strip drop down section to add different processes over the top of these individual channels before they get routed through the new group channel that we've created. You can also go in and select individual channels, and you can even add EQ settings right here inside the mix console. However, if we want to add an effect over the top of all of these vocal channels that we now have routed through the group channel, we could go into the Inserts tab on top of the group channel and we could add an insert or a plugin here. So for example, I can add another reverb. So if I open up this reverb, one of the advantages I have by applying the reverb over the top of the group channel is now whatever I do to the parameters inside here will affect the Reverb plugin over the top of all of those lead vocal channels that I had before. However, the downside is I still need to go through and adjust my overall mix levels, and I don't have individual channel control over the actual reverb itself. And by that, I mean the effect is still over the top of the group channel. What we really want to do in terms of isolating this effect is to create an effect channel on its own. So we do that by clicking on the group channel, and we can add effect to the selected channels right here. Now at the top, you can select the effect that you want to add and you can give it a name. And now I've added the reverb to its very own individual effect channel, meaning I can simply drop the mix or drop the volume of the effect, and I can also alter the amount of send that I'm sending to this effect channel. That's handy because I might have a number of different sends coming from a number of different types of channels just straight through this one effect channel. So I can control the individual amount that I'm sending to the effect. Now I can open up the effect itself and I can just instantly start editing the parameters, and I don't really need to mess around with this mix level right here because I can simply raise the volume on the actual effect channel itself. So this is the most effective way of adding plugins over the top of a lot of different channels. And now you can see that I can start to EQ that one effect channel. And that's not something that I could do before when the insert was applied over the top of the lead vocal channels and the actual group vocal channel. Because if I'd adjusted the EQ over the top of those channels, I would have changed the overall vocal sound. Now all I'm doing is changing the EQ over the top of that one effect channel. So we've got greater control over a lot of different, I guess, parameters that are defining this one effect channel. And we can add multiple effects channels. So it's not just this one reverb that I can add. Right here, I could click on this triangle and I could set up another effect, and I could set up another ascend to go to a different type of effect channel. And once again, I can just right mouse click and say, well, add an effect channel over the top of the selected tracks. This time I could say it's a delay, and now I go up to the effect right up in this top section right here, and I can go down to the delay component, or I can just simply type something in like the multi-tap delay, and I can instantly search for that effect and add the track. Now we've set up another send, so we've got two sends coming from the lead group vocal, and we've got them sending to a reverb and a delay. I've just been talking about having greater control or being able to actually impact this one effects channel. What I can do now is turn on right automation, and just using my mouse, I can start riding the volume on this delay. So dropping it when the lead vocal is in, and then raising it when there's space in the lead vocal track. So that means that my delay is now lower in volume whilst this really important lead vocal line's happening, and it's not taking anything away from the lead vocal, and it's having more impact when I bring the volume up when there's space in the lead vocal track. So I've got greater control over this one delay channel, and that would be really hard to achieve had I added an individual delay over each individual lead vocal track. Now that I'm back out in my project window, I can see that automation curve being written in there, and I can edit it. I can also do things like add a compressor over the top of this delay. So now I can compress that delayed signal that's coming through on the effects channel. So many really flexible options for adding plugins inside a DAW like Cubase. Thanks for taking the time to stop by. Please subscribe to the Cubase YouTube channel for plenty more videos just like this. I'll see you there.